welcome back our gorgeous friend of Simply Wellbeing, nutritionist and author Lola Berry. Lola is going to chat from us from time to time about cool health stuff. Today we're going to talk about eating gluten-free. Hello, Lola.
Hey guys, how are you? I like today's topic because I have just literally eaten a gluten-free chicken sandwich, so this is like perfect timing.
Oh, good. I think I had a gluten-free pasta today. So, like, only a certain amount of the population are true celiacs, and yet so many people are eating gluten-free. So is it really healthy?
Well, it's funny. They say, this is what's really interesting, and Briony, you might know a little bit more about this as well, but they say in Australia, we kind of do something a bit different to our wheat here, so that it's a little bit more refined, and therefore it can be a little bit more reactive on our gut. Of course, gluten is the protein, which is found in wheat and a fair few other grains as well, but the big reactive one is the wheat, yeah? And it's funny because you can take someone that can't have gluten in Australia, and you can take them to Italy, and they'll have the most beautiful pizza and pastas and not react. And apparently it's got to do with the way in which we refine our grain here. I know that this is a little bit slightly like I'm taking curveball here.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying here, as Australians or as your local listeners, it might be that they're allergic to gluten in Australia as opposed to in other countries. It's just
wow.
I'm throwing it out there.
I'm a little bit annoyed if that's true because I went the whole way through Italy and didn't eat any gluten. So...
Yeah, okay. Well, no, see, if you chat to people, though, chat to your clients, see what they say. I know two mates are naturopaths, and they go, it's got, apparently the way that it's refined here in Australia is really full on. So that's one way of looking at it.
I wonder if it's something to do with, I do know that wheat is one of the most heavily sprayed crops, you know, in terms of chemicals out there. And I wonder if it's got to do, and I have heard before that if you go the organic, for some people it's actually about the chemicals rather than the gluten. So I wonder if it's got something to do with that, but I hadn't heard about the refining process. So
yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? But I mean, at the same time as well, of course, like, so it is the protein in the wheat, in the barley, in the spelt, and rye even has got a much smaller amount than spelt or wheat or barley. But it is the protein that people are reacting to, and that's where we're seeing all this gluten intolerance and then celiac disease all going on. So that's the theory behind why people why people are reacting a lot to gluten. That said, what I normally do, I'll take my clients off wheat first, see how they react just coming off wheat, because like what we just said, it is so highly refined that the allergy may not be entirely to gluten, but maybe to the refined wheat.
And it's actually so much. I know when I take a diet, and I'm sure it's the same with you, of people, wheat kind of shows up in nearly every aspect of most people's diets, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a little bit like sugar, and it's sneaky because wheat can be a filler, it can be in sauces, it can be in, like, you'd think, wheat will just be in things like bread and pasta, pancakes, all that kind of jazz. But I mean, you can find it in like crazy condiments. You can find it in, obviously it's in a lot of cereals that even aren't branded as, wheat-containing cereals. It's in so much stuff, it's crazy.
So what are some of the alternatives people can eat?
Well, I mean, if you don't have an allergy to gluten per se, obviously you've got options like spelt, you've got barley, oats. 30% of people with celiacs can't have oats, but a big chunk of them can. Because I think you can have oats, can't you, Briony?
Yes, but I'm actually got a fructose problem rather than the gluten, so it's a bit different.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, there are people that do have celiacs but can still have oats. So again, I tell people, like, your body is a temple, so, like, really listen to your body. You've got about a 3-hour window after you eat something in order to kind of, like, listen. Like, if you get bloated, if you get tired, if you get grumpy, within that 3-hour window, you could well be reacting to food. Frontal headache as well. There are so many little manifestations in the body that are little telltale signs if something's not agreeing for you. So, I mean, if you think, okay, nope, I want no gluten in my diet, I'm pretty sure I'm reactive to it, then of course you've got things like quinoa, millet, amaranth, buckwheat, so many things that are technically seeds, but you can use in the place of a grain. And there are so many good gluten-free breads out there now, not feral, like a lot of them are feral and taste like cardboard, let's be honest, but there are some really good sprouted grain ones out there as well.
There are, and there's lots of things like your recipe book where there's lots of gluten-free options.
Yeah, there's a paleo bread recipe in that, and I use almond meal, I use grated zucchini and grated pumpkin.
Beautiful.
So good.
So people just need to get out there cooking and looking at books like yours and looking on the internet. And there's, like you say, people don't have to be deprived in order to eat. There's still the pastas and breads and everything like that.
Absolutely. And I mean, get creative. Like, jump in the kitchen, try things out. There's so many recipes out there. Like you said, there are so many different tools that we've got now to kind of like be inspired in the kitchen and try new things. But it does take trial and error, and some days it's going to be awesome, and other days you're going to be like, wow, that did not work. That happens to me all the time.
I completely understand, and I know sometimes when you eat out, people, sometimes it's difficult, but you just have to let the restaurant know, don't you?
Absolutely, and I always say to my clients, like, own it, like, be okay to say, hey, I'm paleo, or hey, I've got fructose malabsorption, like, be okay to kind of own whatever it is that you need to be the healthiest version of yourself. It's your body, you need to honour it. So never feel embarrassed or bad about saying what kind of food you want. And it's so good in Australia. We're really lucky. There are so many people with food intolerances out there, so there is a demand for it. Therefore, it's not weird to rock up to a restaurant and say, hey, I need the gluten-free option.
That's right. So I think this is such an important topic, Lola, and it's so often misunderstood. So I appreciate you clearing a few things up for our listeners today. And this is all we've got time for, unfortunately. But
no worries. Thank you for having me, guys.
That's okay. And people can find you. It's lolaberry.com, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Instagram, Twitter, all that jazz.
Yeah, and your book's amazing for anyone that's looking for gluten-free recipes. Thank you so much, Lola.